Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
And a lot of time with our stories, one of the biggest things that we talk about is how most of the people that commit these crimes, if you were asked their family and friends, they would just say, well, this person just seemed like a normal human being. Only to find out that this was just a mask that they would wear to hide the true monsters that really lay beneath the surface. And the person in today's story would be the exact same thing. And we've covered several stories where many people would say these very same things. And this person, like most of the people that we will discuss in the future, would harbor what many would refer to as the Dark Triad. I will actually go in detail what the Dark Triad is, as this is something that we will be discussing on multiple times. The Dark Triad would be a reference that many therapists would refer to particular monsters that we cover in our stories that would harbor chauvinism, narcissism, and psychopathy. This is very important considering the fact that a lot of times there would be very apparent red flags going on that people not so much overlooked but didn't really notice until they were in the presence of actual professionals that knew about these things. People who have chauvinism would often harbor a lower sense of morality, are very manipulative, and have an extreme sense of self-gain. And people who have psychopathy often have a lack of empathy or a lack of remorse, are also manipulative, but they're also very impulsive. And people that suffer with narcissism often have an idolized image of self, are often very self-centered, and can be referred to as an attention seeker. And they too harbor a lower level of empathy. And the person in our story today would harbor all three of these things. And one of the biggest reasons that people found it so hard to believe was how he acted outside of his dark actions or dark fantasies. As not only would he seem on the outside as a very happy family man, who would also be very involved in the Boy Scouts, and would be very active in a Lutheran church that he and his family had attended to. He would do all these things, and this would all be, as I said before, a mask that he would use to fool not only the people around him, but even his friends and family. But in the same time, would also be moonlighting and striking fear in the town of Wichita, Kansas from 1974 to 1991. And that person would be Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader would be born on March 9th, 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas. He would be born to parents Dorothea and William Rader. It's said that his mother Dorothea would be a bookkeeper and his father William was a petroleum service worker. And the family would grow up in Wichita, Kansas. Now, normally, under normal circumstances, this is the part where I say that Dennis Rader went through a very abusive childhood, was abused either by his mother or his father. But surprisingly, this is not the case. It's said that he would be the eldest of 4 children and would have, for the most part, a fairly normal childhood. The only negative thing that could be said about the parents of Dennis Rader was that maybe because he was the oldest child that he did not get the attention that he wanted from his parents, mainly because they had 3 other children and they also worked long hours. And surprisingly, Dennis Rader would start harboring some very twisted dark fantasies. One of these things would be that Dennis Rader would be a zoo sadist. And if you're wondering if this sounds like something very dark and twisted that involves animals, you would be right. As someone that is a zoo sadist would be someone that can't find schmexual climax without strangling or hanging animals. This would be a dark fantasy that Dennis Rader harbored at a very early age. He would then later start creating a habit or a fantasy of being a peeping Tom, where he would often go over to neighbors' houses and watch the women undress while dressing up as a woman himself in the outside part of the house looking into their bedroom. He would actually begin doing certain things to entertain his dark fantasies, especially with cross-dressing. One of the biggest fantasies that Dennis Rader would have was he had this desire to be aroused by thoughts of women being tortured, strangled, or bound in a very, very violent way. And he would often dress up as a woman. This would include with a wig and a female mask, and he would actually bind himself in a chair and take pictures of himself while he would be pleasuring himself bound. This in part would be one of the main reasons why so many people were so confused when they found out what a monster Dennis Rader was, because anyone that knew him in real life would say he was very polite and well-mannered, which speaks volumes in the kind of masks that Dennis Rader wore every single day, that to the outside naked eye he seemed like a very normal, put-together person, but deep down inside he was a very sadistic monster waiting to come out. It's said that Dennis Rader would attend Wichita Heights High School, and after graduating high school would actually attend Kansas Wesleyan University. But one thing that can be said about Dennis Rader was he's not very smart. One thing that can be said about Dennis Rader was he wasn't very intelligent, and this would show during his first year of attending at university, where his grades were said to be extremely mediocre. And after 1 year, he would actually drop out. After dropping out of college, it's said that Dennis Rader would enlist into the United States Air Force, where he was active from 1966 to 1970. You'll soon find out that Dennis Rader never really stayed in one particular area very long when it came to careers. He had a habit of jumping around from job to job to job. I think this is mostly in part to keep how he was more hidden from general people. But Dennis Rader would be discharged from the U.S. Air Force in 1970. And this is where Dennis would actually move to Park City, a suburb of Wichita, Kansas. After moving to Park City, it's there that Dennis Rader would work in a meat department at an IGA supermarket. To be more precise, this would be the exact supermarket that his mother actually worked at. It's shortly after this that Dennis Rader would meet Paula Dietz, the woman that he would eventually marry, on May 22nd, 1971. And they would eventually have 2 children, Carrie and Brian Rader. And Rader would actually go back to school after this to get a degree in electronics and engineering by 1973. He would also attend Wichita University and get a bachelor degree in science, majoring in the administration of justice. Now, while he was going to college for that, and he would graduate from that from 1979, but from 1974, he would begin working at a security services job where he would install security system alarms in people's homes. And this is where our story takes a very dark turn.